This is the Ripple Effect of Wellbeing in Work and Life. I'm Dr. Ken Thompson, here with Dr. Stephanie Romero.
On this show, we explore how holistic well-being practices can transform our individual lives and our collective capacity for care.
We're bringing you the science, the stories, and the specific practices that reduce stress and build resilience in our homes, our offices, and our communities.
We're talking to people to see how their perspectives, practices, and work are creating a ripple effect for a better world.
Thanks for joining us.
Today we are joined by Felicia Savage Friedman. She's a remarkable person who spent over 30 years teaching us how to breathe, how to remember, how to move, and how to heal. Felicia is a Pittsburgh-born and raised community cultural worker, artist, writer, and Raja yoga teacher. She is the founder and CEO of Yoga Roots on Location, where she has pioneered integrated, embodied, anti-racist practices to support collective liberation in schools, healthcare spaces, and justice movements worldwide. She is also known to many as the Cousin Yogini, a creative force who brings together art, handmade papermaking, cursive calligraphy, and poetry to tell raw, beautiful truths. Felicia is currently stepping into a new threshold as an artist, scholar, and PhD student in language literacy and culture at the University of Pittsburgh, researching how these physical arts hold our cultural memory and keep us free. Across all of her work, she invites us to refuse to separate our spiritual lives from our struggles for justice, and to do it all with a commitment to fierce, unshakable joy. We're incredibly honored to have Felicia on the show today. Felicia, I am so grateful to be in conversation with you. And just to note for people listening, you have been my teacher for a long time now. And it just warms my heart to be here having this conversation with you. So thank you for your time and offering this. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm humbled and I'm honored. As a matter of fact, I texted Carrie just a few moments ago, and I was like, Carrie brought so many people, family and friends to my yoga classes all over. And I was like, no, I gotta, where did this start? Right? Like, and it started with Carrie. And so I'm so thankful. I was like humbled and honored to be able to be on your podcast.
That's right. So for people listening, I was working alongside Carrie actually at the very beginning of Awaken, getting started. And she said, there's this yoga training going to happen. And I think you have to attend, Stephanie. And she was like, Google this. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I think Carrie and I were the first two people to sign up. I think you told me that. That was your first teacher training, yoga teacher training. Carrie and I were the first two people to sign up.
Oh, and that's 2016, right? Like that's 10 years ago. So thank you.
Yeah.
Really
thank you for offering. Well, because folks listening may not know you, I always love start these conversations asking folks to explain how they came to practice, because everyone's journey is always so amazing. So how did you find Raja Yoga? How did you find meditation and embodied practices?
Wow. And Stephanie, you've prepared me well for your questions. Don't judge me, because yes, I'm bringing to beginner's mind with this one, because I could talk long and deep on this one. So I've always been body kinesthetic since as far back as I know. I've been in my body and been in touch with my body and been in touch with my feelings. It's been a place of learning for me. I say if history could have been presented to me body kinesthetically, I would have aced it. So and actually it's kind of it dovetails with my practice of Raja Yoga. I would say that this has been a 36-year journey in terms of Raja Yoga. I was initiated by a Black woman here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah, 36 years ago, because my will be 36. So it's coming up on 37 now. Um, and I knew nothing about yoga before then. Before her, we met at the co-op. Um, and it was really for me, the introduction was because I was having a really tumultuous time with my first husband. And we were planning on breaking up, and she really showed me a way to not focus on him, but just to focus on me. And that was the Raja Yoga path, which, woo, powerful path. A year after I started, um, we conceived Maya. So Maya was born into this practice, hence part of the reason why I named her Maya. Gerald and I named her Maya, was Maya is part of the illusion of this world. And so every time I call Maya's name, I want to remember that what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, a lot of what we're experiencing is illusion. Um, and um, even being able to deliver Maya out of hospital at birthplace, the first birthing center, establishment that I know of here in the city of Pittsburgh, out of hospital and no drugs, 18 hours labor, 4 hours of hard labor. I was always able, Stephanie, to stay in front of the pain. And I call it productive pain because, to give birth, as you know, it is painful, but what our end result, our outcome is, this beautiful, precious being. And to be able to navigate that the way I did, I was like, there's something to this yoga practice. And I had been practicing, oh my gosh, I had practiced probably 3, 4 hours a day. The hatha yoga, so the breathing and the movement, synchronized movement, anatomy and physiology and kinesiology. I love anatomy and physiology, so that was an easy lift for me. And then part of the Raja Yoga path is a meditation practice, um, which I didn't really understand the benefits until I would say after 15 years being in, because I was so physical. When we were playing outside as kids, I never stopped playing. So hula hoops, jump rope, hopscotch, all of the things that um, we play as a kid transitioned into my hatha play practice. And I'm very competitive. I even played basketball for a short time in high school. Those women were just way too rough for me. I'm a fighter from way back. So it's like, you can't hit me and I'm not going to hit you back. That kind of thing in high school. So I was like, nope, this isn't for me. Um, but what it showed me, Raja Yoga, showed me that instead of the competition outward, external, turned it inward. It was an inward practice. And I was like, this is the secret. This is a secret for me to having more peace and realizing my own agency when I want to look external. Yeah, this Raja Yoga practice has been powerful in terms of the movement and the breath and synchronizing, but the meditation, the stillness practice, being able, and the type of meditation I've practiced is just being a witness to my thoughts. That's it. Like I'm not trying to do anything. Um, just being a witness. And that harkens back to my Baptist, going to Baptist church days. Um, and literally being a witness of my own blessed assurance that my connection, which yoga, as you know, means to yoke that individual back to their higher power. And this was the blessed assurance that I've always known in my relationship with God. So it was just another way to fortify practice that I didn't have the words for, but I was already practicing, Um, the stillness, the meditation practice, the concentration is at this season in my life is critical for me every day. Because at 62, I'm a doer. And so I'm saying I'm in a I'm in a recovery program for being an overachiever, for being a perfectionist, right? Raja Yoga has allowed me, and also with a big support from Maya, actually, because we work together. And, very much my doing, my overachieving has been connected to an internalized. Um, and I realized that I don't have to prove that I'm worthy of rest. I don't have to prove that I'm worthy of joy. There's I can't do too much. I can do too much, but I don't have to do those things, which is what I thought. And that's my own groundwater that I'm still working on. Um, but this practice, this Raja Yoga practice also, I am a breast cancer champion. So having this practice solid and firm in this practice, Stephanie, it was amazing in 2009 to go through, a biopsy, um, and then a lumpectomy and radiation. I celebrated my life every day. Like I dressed up to go to my doctor's appointments. I did my breathing, my meditation, my physical practice, and it really sustained me. Where I am here to speak about that today, when so many of my friends, dear friends and family members are not. So I say it's, Raja Yoga and especially the meditation practice, my stillness, my more contemplative practices, the self-reflection, self-introspection, being able to be a neutral observer as best as I can internally. This practice has been fire and has sustained me and allows me to continue to grow and learn. So I know that was a lot. I hope I
No,
answered.
it's all good stuff, all good stuff and amazing. So I was resonating really with you, especially on the overachiever and perfectionism. I feel it in my bones, I
Oh, I
feel it in my
do.
bones. And that idea, especially I think female embodied people, right? Of
Mhm.
always being the one to have to get it all together and take care of everybody. You know what I mean? Like there's
Oh,
something there in our,
oh, absolutely.
at least in my upbringing and socialization that,
Oh, definitely mine too.
if you're not doing something, then where's your worth? And so you really hit me hard with you don't
Mhm.
have to earn your rest, right? You don't have to earn your joy. Just you have it because you're a human being, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that
Yeah.
that really touched me.
Yeah.
And I want to go back just a little bit, just in case people listening don't know the terms. Like, could you explain
Yes.
what Hatha yoga is and what Raja yoga is so that if
Yes.
someone's not familiar, they might understand?
Yes, absolutely. So Raja Yoga, and I even though I've been practicing this practice for many years, I I am humbled to be able to share that I am a Black cisgender queer woman practicing this East Indian philosophy of Raja Yoga. So it is not the culture of my raising. Like if it was Motown, I could speak on that easily, right? Without, any introduction. But Raja Yoga has its, and I understand, the roots of everything go back to Africa. That's the beginning of civilization. We all know that. Um, but this type of practice specifically that I was initiated into, Raja Yoga, is called an eight-limb practice. And so the limbs are, and they're not it's not a linear practice. So you don't start here and then you end here. It's very much circular, in my understanding. And so what I'm sharing with you is just my perspective. Um, I follow the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. as translated by Shivananda Satchidananda Swamiji, who was my East Indian teacher, and also Sant Keshvadas, another East Indian teacher, who taught my teacher and also me. And so the eight limb path involves, and I'll start with a self-realized practice, so living a purpose-driven life. And so that's oftentimes called the eighth limb. I would say the seventh limb is a meditation practice, and there's many different types of meditation practices that dovetail with Buddhist Zen practices as well. And then a concentration practice. So we as yogis, we can choose one of these, or we have seasons with, some that you're really practicing. And then at times there's, limbs that you're not practicing as much. The concentration practice, and then a sensory withdrawal practice. So a practice where you're not being led by the senses, or you recognize and you're being honest about what's leading you. And then there's asana and pranayama practices. So asana and pranayama together form the hatha practice that a lot of folks here in the West are more familiar with. So the movement, synchronizing movement with the breath, that's a hatha practice.
And then just to say that asana is posture and pranayama is the breath.
Is breathing. Right. Yeah. Right. Yes. And so bringing those together, that's the hatha practice, which are two of the eight limbs. And then there's the yamas and the niyamas, which are interpersonal ways of knowing and being. So ways that we are with other people, and then there's ways that we are with ourselves. So for example, one of the precepts for me that I've been practicing is a purity practice. I raised my kids vegan for the first 12 to 18 years of their lives. And then now I call myself a more conscientious eater. So I eat fish and sometimes chicken, but still primarily vegan. I can't eat dairy and gluten. I'm allergic to gluten. So, just really listening to my body and saying, okay, you can't eat this, or maybe you can eat a little bit of it. For me, that's part of my moderation practice as well. So yeah, that's the eight limb path is it's also called the Royal Road. And it's a severe practice. There's no doubt about it. Now with me, speaking specifically that I'm a Black cisgender queer woman, the reason why I brought my Raja Yoga practice together with an anti-racist framework was critical to who I am. A lot of these isms, racism, homophobia-ism, transphobia-ism, patriarchy, and all of the isms, ableism, we bring these understandings or understandings into our space so that we could recognize what's operating and inquire and be curious about what is happening. And how was I acculturated? How was I socialized? To see, is that the way I still want to live? It's a beautiful way that I've inquired into how I was raised. No disrespect to my family and my culture of raising, but we do need to be curious. And that's what Raja Yoga has brought up for me, to be able to really be a critical lover of even my Raja Yoga practice, because I've seen, even in the sutras and reading and studying over the years, a lot of the isms are brought into, the sutras. And so I've had to be really critical, and the anti-racist, anti-oppression framework has given me a framework to really look at it and inquire. I hope I answered.
Yeah, you're totally answering. In fact, I think you answered like 2, 3 questions. Precocious. No, I'm just kidding.
That's
No,
me.
that
There
was
I
the
go
best.
again.
I know. It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. Well, you started to talk a little bit about your anti-racism work and your activism. And, you're one of the few people that have given me an example of how to take a contemplative personal practice and
Mhm.
integrate social activism and anti-racism, right? And to really marry those two. And that's, a very special and inspiring thing, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just really curious about one, what helped you just kind of say, I'm putting these two things together,
Yes. Oh,
right? Like,
yeah.
and then to start teaching it out. Like, I'm really curious about that.
Whew. Yeah, this was so I wrote the curriculum because I knew I wanted to do a yoga teacher training because I had brought in I was working at the Kingsley primarily and still teaching classes all over. But I knew that, and this is prior to breast cancer, actually, because that's 2009. Breast cancer showed me that I needed to have folks who were in my lineage of teaching so that if I needed to be, absent from class, class could still go on. Like I would say to yogis when I was teaching in Larmer, Larmer East Liberty at the Kingsley, I may be your first yoga teacher, but I do not want to be your last. I want you to explore. You'll find there's folks who will resonate with you. There's other traditions that'll resonate with you. And so to be curious and explore. But I realized I was like, oh, a lot of people were dependent upon me, Stephanie. And I was like, no, that feels good for the ego. Get that. It's like I want to take Felicia's class. Like, but when I want to do other things, go out of town, right? And so I had brought in NETA, which is the National Exercise Trainers Association, and did um, 2 terms of yoga teacher trainings, like 2.5 day trainings. And I was like, there's so much more that needs, for me to impart to my yogis so that they can really step into their own practice um, and their own teaching practice, because practice, their own personal practice, different than a teaching practice. And so I had put together 1,000 hours of curriculum, Stephanie. And I did that over the course of several years. 2014, um, there's something that it's missing, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's not ready to be born yet. And so I was working with Amanda K. Gross, um, doing listening sessions for American Friends Service Committee. And she introduced me to the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, undoing racism trainings. I went to my first training in 2014 in St. Louis at the University of Washington, St. Louis. It blew my mind, Stephanie. I stood for 2.5 days because that training gave me the language that I had experienced racism in all its different forms since I was about 5 or 6 going to school. And I was like, this is it. So I'm bringing the anti-racist framework along with my Raja Yoga practice. And really, it's like this, because I would say the first layer was my unconditional love of humans. So I'm a really different kind of person, I would say. I don't have favorites. And yes, I'm human. There are people that I get along with easier than others, and that's real. However, my love is not that way. So if you have a need, you approach me with a need. I don't care who you are. If you're in my circle, I'm going to do my best to address that need. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised more with you just extend that to people who are in your family, birth family. And that just didn't resonate with me. So that's my first layer is the unconditional love practice. On top of that was the Raja Yoga practice that I had practiced for 20 years at that, 20 plus years at that time. So I was really firmly rooted and grounded in the Raja Yoga practice. And then layer on top of that this anti-racist framework, I said, oh my gosh, this is what I waited for. And so bringing those together, I love creating curriculum and being creative. I'm a, elementary teacher certified. And this was just my jam. And what it was, though, Stephanie, it was so hard explaining it to people. People couldn't understand what does anti-racism have to do with Raja Yoga? And I was like, well, me as a Black woman and not of the East Indian culture, like this makes sense. This is how I've been healing from internalized since I started this practice. This is how I heal from inhumane practices. And so even extrapolating that, this is how I've healed my memory of trauma, in my own body. This has been a path that has been life affirming, over and over and over again. So then I was like, okay, it's time. We're going to roll it out 2016. I came up against a lot of negativity, I would say, because folks just couldn't understand it. Fast forward to 2020, the summer of 2020, the uprisings with, the murder of our dear George Floyd, in Minneapolis. And all of a sudden the light went off for so many people who had, disagreed with me that this was important, that this didn't make sense. And now, 2026, so many more people understand how we're all navigating this internalized oppression of all of these isms, and that the path forward is unconditional love. And it's practice, a practice that we can come together in community, hold each other accountable. It was a large call out culture that happened in the anti-racist training spaces. I knew that the answer to that was unconditional love and humanity. So that's I was able to create the curriculum exactly the way I wanted it, so that, it's grounded in collective humanity and collective liberation for us all.
Yeah. So the thing that is striking me, so
Mm,
you and I are kind of the flip of one another in some ways, because my
mm,
whole entry has been the quiet contemplative practice. And I
right.
had to push myself into the body-based
Ooh,
practices, right? Like the
mm,
flip of you, right?
yes.
Where I
Oh.
never really resonated with like moving with breath. Like I just wanted to sit, I just wanted to sit and notice, right? And
Right,
so like
right.
in some ways we're like the parallel path to the same point in some ways.
Mm,
But
yes.
but but the way I experienced your training as a student,
Mm,
my meditation practice allows me to notice what's happening outside and inside me so that I'm better prepared to act in the world for justice.
oh.
If I didn't have that sustenance of my practice and the ability
Mm,
to pause and notice
yes.
before saying whatever or doing whatever, like I don't think I would have ever
Mm,
started the nonprofit or be able to show up in communities with humility and really
oh.
listen before jumping in, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and uh I think the integration of the teaching directly into the contemplative practices, for me it's like you're not just allowing people the space to really fully get to know themselves and know their body and their mind, but you're also giving them the tool set to navigate things out there in the world. So it's there's a kind of, I think yoga and meditation and the work that we're both doing is providing people with a skill set,
Absolutely.
right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
tool set, and the
Right,
anti-racism work is also a tool set,
right,
right? And
right.
it's there, I always feel like there's this misconception that meditation in particular I imagine even yoga is like navel gazing in some way, that it's very
Right.
solitary, that it's only for you. But like, no, you're doing this so that you're able to move out into the world and work for justice.
Absolutely. I love that framing, Stephanie, because that is congruent with, so I created the training, and really I created the training as a self-care, community care boot camp. But if I just had advertised it as a boot camp or, a workshop, not many
It,
people would sign
it
up.
was a boot camp. It was a boot camp.
Boot camp for me too. Truly. But I knew people wouldn't sign up if I just advertised it as a boot camp, right? So that's why I was like, oh, bring it into Yoga Alliance's certification process. Also, it's a workforce development piece too, in as much as folks were able to get certified in this anti-racist Raja Yoga, framework, and then they can go and teach. So folks who weren't like, I didn't have any requirements, Stephanie. Like, you didn't have to, like most yoga teacher trainings, there's some level of requirement. All I asked were two things: have an open heart and mind. Yeah, have an open heart and an open mind, and start your practice the day you start yoga teacher training. So start these practices, but you didn't have to have the prerequisites. There were no prerequisites, just being open. Um, because we're all starting, especially a physical practice, depends on what's going on in your body. Like, as a breast cancer champion, there have been times, I can't hold myself up. So does that mean that I don't do my practice? No, it's called modification. So I've been the queen of modification for some time, because even starting yoga, I am not super flexible, so I've always modified, that's why I would say that I was the least likely to be a trainer or a teacher, when I look at my colleagues who, through the years um, came along with me. I was like, they're so flexible. But what I realized, I'm a teacher and I'm an integrationist. So I'm able to bring seemingly disparate kind of understandings together and to show where they're connected. Um, so that's my zone of genius, I would say, that being able to bring those together.
Absolutely. And also, like, don't underestimate the power of you giving people permission to do yoga the way they're able,
Oof,
right?
yes,
Because
yes.
I mean, I've seen in your classes folks coming in with a walker, sitting in a chair and participating with full joy in your yoga
Mm,
class, which
yeah,
I know there are a lot of yoga classes around town that they would not even feel comfortable walking in that door,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you actually make that practice accessible to absolutely everybody,
yeah. It's
right?
so
And that
important.
is so important,
My
so
gosh,
important.
this is a
Yeah,
life-giving practice, and for to have folks excluded
that's
is
right.
that's
That's
the
right.
antithesis of this practice. It's the
That's right.
antithesis of yoga, you
That's
know,
right. That's right. Yeah,
so
it doesn't have to look a certain way. It can look how your body makes it look, and that's perfect, right?
right,
And
right.
that's I think one of the biggest gifts that
Mm.
you offer folks. And I just remember, because it popped into my head, everything you were teaching us, you were like, any amount, bend over, any amount,
Any
move
amount,
your whatever,
right?
any
Yes,
amount. And I was
any
like, your
amount.
mantra, any amount. And I was like, that's just so perfect, because you don't have to do the full thing. You can do just a little, and that's your
Right.
practice today.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you for receiving and remembering that, Stephanie.
Oh,
That was
I stole it. It's part of me
good.
now.
Good. That's important. That's what it's for.
Yes.
It's a gift
Yeah.
that that's a gift that keeps giving, in as much as when
Absolutely.
people repeat that, like, yes, in the yoga classes that I took in New York City, And I really am appreciative of my Urban Zen Integrative Therapist program because it allowed me to open up my school, with the 500 hour. But yeah, folks, there were some accessibility issues that were overlooked. Not everyone's able to be on the floor, um, on a yoga mat. So what does that look like? And yeah, and so we even did in that training, we did do chair yoga and yoga in the bed. I did clinical rotations at Beth Israel Hospital in New York City, with folks who, weren't able to get out of the bed, which was, pretty amazing work. And, folks who were confined to a chair. So we did do a lot of adaptations, but in our training, there weren't a lot of those adaptations brought into um, the specific studio. And that's what I wanted. I was like, I want folks to feel comfortable enrolling a walker or a wheelchair into my studio, because in our studio, it was very um, homogeneous, in terms of people's ability. But yeah, the work that we were doing out was definitely we were shown how to be adaptable. Yeah, it was powerful training.
And that just ties back to you saying that you want to work from the place of unconditional love of all humans,
Yep,
because you
that's it.
can't have that and exclude people.
Right, right. You can't like, recognizing even entryways into a class,
Yes.
and what barriers. I'm teaching presently now. The one class consistently is on a barge here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a shore thing every Sunday at 10 a.m. And the barge is secured, it's on the North Shore near PNC Park. It's secured you know, to the earth, to that landing. However, it is accessible. So folks who have walkers or wheelchairs would be able to access the barge, which is pretty incredible, you know?
That sounds like fun. That sounds like a
Yeah.
lot of fun to be out
Yeah.
on the water doing yoga.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I want to make sure we hit on your creative persona, the Kusin Yogini, which I love. I
Thank
love.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I that's like just absolutely bringing a little bit of humor into
Oh,
into
absolutely.
what you're doing and
Do
your
it.
spark and your personality. Yeah, like tell us
Oh my
about that.
gosh.
How did that
Yes.
come to be?
Oh my goodness. So the cussing yogini is born out of, I've always been an interdisciplinarian artist. So since as far back as my grandmother taught me knitting and crocheting, and I was probably about 6 or 7 years old. Then she bought me my first Singer sewing machine because I was like, Grandma, I want to make clothes. I can't knit or crochet fast enough. So then she bought me my Singer sewing machine, and I'm on my way to making clothes. Um, I have the gift of being able, like I was a seamstress in a life before, this season of my life. Like I made my first wedding dress. Um, I designed a line of children's clothes for my kids because they both wore cotton diapers, real cotton diapers, um, and they were bulky. And so the clothes that were being made for kids were made for, those manufactured like Pampers. No shade to them, but it's just, I really wanted cotton cloth diapers for my kids. So I made clothes that really accommodated their bum and all the diapers. That line of children's clothes sold out pretty quickly, and folks orders were coming in, and I was like, I want to homeschool my kids. I don't want to be, I don't want to be tied to my sewing machine. So I was able to, to transition to alterations then at that point. But so I'm still able to create, but fast forwarding to this time, and I'll say 2020, I got back into my drawing, watercolor, acrylic, oils, um, and collages. And I was like, this is the new season that I feel I'm stepping into. I'm still doing, yoga teacher trainings, professional development, and I'll do that, for as long as Yoga Roots on Location will have me. Um, but this time of my life, I was like, I want to step more fully into my artistry. And so I do need, the Cussing Yogini is underneath Yoga Roots on Location. Um, I'm creating paper now, um, which I'm actually making paper from hand. So using cotton rags, Japanese knotweed, flax, um, herbs, and flowers, that are local. My first teacher has been Katie Dement, who is phenomenal. I took classes over a year ago at Contemporary Craft on Butler Street. Wonderful space to learn. Um, and as I do with most of my learning, I take the learning and I upgrade it, for me. So now I'm making a lot of my paper at home on our balcony here, which is wonderful. And I'm using, instead of the Hollander beater, which is a pretty expensive piece of equipment to make paper, um, I knew we can use blenders. So I've been using our Vitamix blender, which is incredible. It makes really fine pulp so that I'm able to make more, fine paper. And I love to write in cursive. So when I taught elementary school at Lincoln, in Pittsburgh Public Schools, Lincoln Technology Academy, it was then. Um, Pittsburgh Public had taken cursive out of the schools. And it's like, no, Miss Ruth's. I said, I really want to teach cursive to our fourth graders. And she gave me, the opportunity of a lifetime. So I created a whole lesson of teaching our students cursive. And the reason why I wanted to teach cursive is because I always like to write in cursive. So when I sign I take my signature very seriously. So it's beautiful. When I sign it, I always get, you know, um, positive feedback about, your handwriting is gorgeous. And I was like, this is another space, as with my yoga practice. I need to share this. So the Cussing Yogini is rolling out paper making and writing cursive on my handmade paper. So I'll be doing, workshops, doing that soon. Yeah, this is the Cussing Yogini is my way of healing through art. I'm still able to curate these vulnerable conversations because even in the paper making industry, hand paper making industry specifically, we talk about invasive species, and indigenous species. So the same stuff that we talk about in anti-racist or any anti-oppression space. So I'm able to have these vulnerable conversations about what has been your um, handmade paper practice, because every culture has made paper to write on. And, so my dream, Stephanie, now with this handmade paper making practice is to go to different parts of the world and to learn from their culture of practice of making paper, and that we can curate these spaces where we can have more conversation about the culture of lineage, how you practice, um, and all those same things that we talk about even in yoga. But because making paper is it's very physical, so, and it can be adapted to folks who are in wheelchairs or, so again, these are some of I'm seeing these same threads run through yoga practices as well as social justice, as well as my artistic practices.
That's beautiful. It's
Thank you.
making me remember I toured a school that was a K to 12 school that was focused on mindfulness and meditation at all levels of the school. It was a private school years ago in Canada. And one of
Mm.
the things they said was we spend a little extra money on the paper that we give the kids because we want them to feel the texture and to feel, when they're writing, to have that sense of this is important actually.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Even
Oh my,
from the little ones to let them really, instead of what a lot of schools do, save the budget, buy them the kind of crappy cheapo paper and pens and all of that, right? And there's
right.
no pride around what they're producing. There's no sense of accomplishment. And this school was like, we intentionally spend a little extra on the paper and the
On the
pens. And I was like, that's amazing.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Now we just need to get all school districts to do that.
Yeah.
You
Well, and
know,
the consciousness of the teachers, like that's it, right? The
right.
consciousness of the teachers and administrators of that that's even important.
Important. Yeah, because that
Right?
texture, it is
Yes.
amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And to
Yes.
see, to see adults, like ooh and awe over my handmade paper, which has been, yeah, incredible. And I say it's a reclamation because a lot of folks were taught cursive in this very punishable,
Yeah.
it was a mean kind of spirit. It wasn't
Yes.
the spirit
Yes.
of joy and art and
Yes.
love
Yes.
and
Yes.
experimentation, because I call it
Yeah.
mark making. We're all making marks, and there should be joy in that. And how can we shift that energy from it being, punitive, like write this over, 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 over. And,
Yeah.
even writing was used as a punishment when I was coming up in school,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
so how many folks do have those negative or trauma filled memories about writing? And so we
Yeah.
get to shift that narrative and give them
Yeah.
an opportunity to access the joy in making the actual paper and then writing on the paper. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's life-giving. It really is.
Yeah. I love it. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh,
Well,
and
we're
along with
please.
that, too, I just remember, um, so I last year I self-published my first book too. So a lot of
Yes.
people think that it's made out of handmade paper, and it's not. It's not handmade paper. So we are all connected. We're the Stardust Crew is my answer to these bigger metaphysical questions, that $15 words, as I say, that, we went to school to be able to say. And I really wanted to distill it down to language that was accessible by everyone. And we are all connected. We're the Stardust Crew. It's my poem. So I write poetry also. And it's my poem that I asked an illustrator, Peter, who's in Zambia, and we've never even met, for him to illustrate my book, because I wanted to talk about how we breathe together and to show very vibrant pictures. And so I'm really proud of that also, which is, it dovetails yet again, with the practice of us reclaiming our humanity and seeing how we're more alike than different. Like we have times where we disagree and we're mean to each other and we're selfish. But we also have times that we can heal those points of selfishness, that are dehumanizing, that we can come together and hug each other and play games together and cook together and dance together, and move together, and breathe together. And so I was really excited to self-publish, we are all connected. We're the Stardust Crew, to remind us all that, yeah, what I do to myself, what I do to you, there is no separateness. We're connected cosmically because we are all made up of the same molecules and atoms that make up stars. And we also are on this planet Earth, which we're connected to the mycelium network. So again, we're all connected. It goes back to the yoga teacher training. We have to speak about, these ways that we're not connected, and we have to also practice these ways that we are, and remind each other, So yeah, so my artistry all coming together
Yeah.
in under the Cussing Yogini.
That's beautiful.
Thank
I love the idea. Well, I don't know if you said it exactly this way, but like even in those moments when we are being selfish, even in those moments when, maybe you're harming another,
Mhm.
you're still connected,
Right,
even
right,
if it's a negative impact,
right,
right?
right. And how, and to your point, the stillness, the meditation practice has helped me immensely with that
Yeah.
because I'm a doer. I really, we were talking about that, I'm an overachiever and I am in recovery from that through my Raja Yoga practice, through the sitting and my stillness and my meditation practices. Because what I realize is I'm limited as a human. I know I'm an energetic being having this human experience, so I understand that as well. But also, everything is not for me, and it's all right. It's all right. Some things that, are happening, I do need to take it to prayer and my meditation practice. And that's my answer. Because that's for me, that's the antithesis of doing, feeling as though I have to do something and expending energy that I shouldn't. So having that level of discernment and that practice has really been fortified by my meditation practice, Stephanie, to know what is for me to do and what is not.
Yeah, I don't know who said it. I don't remember who it was, but I got this quote that you have to have no's in order to get to your yes,
It's so real. It's so
right?
real. Yep.
Because if you're saying yes to everything, you're not getting to your real yes, right? You're just
Mhm. Right.
distracting yourself. So
Absolutely.
there have to be some no's. It's
Yep.
normal because
Mhm.
we're not unlimited resource, you know.
Right.
We
Oh
wish
my
we
God.
were, but we're not.
Yes. Yes. And the older that I get,
Yes.
like even my productivity time, it gets,
Yes.
it's narrower. And I have to honor that
Right.
this is part of, the life cycle. And
That's right.
that level of self-acceptance, which is, it definitely it comes out of my Raja Yoga practice. That self-acceptance is, woo, it's life-saving because I am able to see clearly what I need to say no to and what I need to say yes to, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it may be hard, it's still very
Mm-hmm.
clear because
Yeah.
of the
It's not
practice.
easy. It doesn't make it
Yeah.
easy, even if it's
Doesn't
clear
make it easy.
sometimes. But
That's
but
real.
it's clear. That's right. That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Well, I am noticing time, so I want to give you the opportunity if there's something I didn't ask about that you were hoping to say or share.
Oh my gosh, no, Stephanie, we've gone through, yeah, I really wanted to make sure I shared about my class that I have, the weekly class I have at a Shore Thing on the barge here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, um, River Life, and wanted to share about my book. We are all
Yeah.
connected. We are the Stardust Crew workbook, and um, wanted to
Which I
share
think we
about my
have that link, so we can put it in the
put it.
notes for the podcast. Yeah, we'll share that
Okay.
for folks. Yeah.
Yes, and that we as Yoga Roots on Location offer professional development. I also offer the book workshop. Um, and what else was it? My paper making. Yeah, the cussing
Yeah.
yogini.
Yeah.
And all that is coming from that. And it's funny, oh, one more thing. Yes. Um, I did get accepted to the PhD program at University of Pittsburgh, which I'm really excited about. It is my two-time alma mater. And I see myself being able to bring my paper making, Yoga Roots on Location, the Cussing Yogini all into that space to study it. It still will be separate because that's my IP, but I'll be able to study the success of it. So, and thank you, I want to thank you, Stephanie, for being part of my 10-year journey here with the yoga teacher training. As we celebrate 10 years this year, next year we're going to do for our 11th year, we're going to do a big celebration. And but I see, the PhD at the School of Education in language, literacy, and culture. I mean, it was made for me. That's what I've been doing. And so to be able to study um, the work that I've been doing for the last 30 years of my life it's incredible. And I feel humbled and honored to be able to share this, with your audience too, with you and your audience. Yeah, this is everything. This is everything.
Well, I feel like you were instrumental in the birthing of the curricula in Awaken, even though you didn't directly participate in that, but in
Oh,
shaping some of my thinking and
oh,
supporting
beautiful.
me in yeah, expanding the way that I was thinking about things and your
Mm,
teach and like I said, I was so based in seated meditation that I really benefited
mhm.
from the embodiment
Yeah.
practice
Oh,
and even pushing myself in that direction because it
mm,
wasn't my comfort level, right?
oh, that's
It wasn't
beautiful.
my so I am appreciating you that I could be part of that journey and that you are offering it because it's important. It's
Yes,
important work. It really,
yes,
really is.
yeah. And on
Well,
to
as
that
a
note,
yeah.
we are signing up for our ninth flight. We're in our
Woohoo!
eighth. Yeah, we're in our eighth flight, and nine is a very spiritual number of completion. So I think we have, oh no, we do have several folks who have signed up. So I encourage, folks, come check us out, see if
Yeah, please. The
yeah, we
link
have
for
the
Yoga
date.
Roots will be there. You'll be able to check it out.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Stephanie. I really
So,
appreciate this
final
time.
question. Is there
Yes.
you've already mentioned a few different resources, but is there any one resource you might want to name as something that really supported you in your journey that you would name to folks if they wanted to check it out?
Oh, in my journey, oh my gosh, to distill it to one.
I know it's
Uh,
hard. You
yeah,
could do
it
two.
is. Okay. Yeah, because the two I would say is this, like I love to study. I'm a studier,
Hmm.
right? So I love being a student. So studying, various scripture, presently, as you know, Stephanie, I'm married to um, Martin Friedman, who is a white Jewish man, and we've been practicing Kabbalistic Judaism, which for me is so yoga. I mean, it's amazing. So I've even done a lot of art around that. That's been very sustaining, to be able, um, right now I'm still in a period of mourning for my youngest brother who passed. And so we pray the mourner's cottage
Mm-hmm.
for him. And my mother-in-law passed. So my husband Martin is still in mourning for her, and he goes to Minion every day. So us having these spiritual rituals are
Hmm.
critical to support, and it's not separate, So Kabbalistic Judaism is not separate for me from yoga, from my meditation practice. It's just another opportunity to practice. Um, and definitely, I have to give kudos to the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond on doing racism trainings, which really um, phenomenal organization in as much as helping me to awaken. Um, yeah, and yeah, so Raja Yoga, having, People's Institute for Survival and Beyond were just resources that have been life-giving and life-affirming and life-sustaining. Yeah, so I think I mentioned three
Yeah,
in my
you're
paper,
good.
you know.
You're good. You're good. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about your brother. I didn't know about that. I give
Oh,
you my
yeah.
sympathies. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
that's hard.
yeah, it's hard. His birthday was on the 7th of July, and his
Yeah.
death anniversary in Judaism called the yard site was on the 12th. So yeah, I'm 8 years older than him, so I have some survivor's remorse. But again,
Yeah.
my meditation, my physical Raja yoga practice, all of it, all of my practices, the paper making, it sustains me and helps me move through the grief. It's a
That's
really
right.
powerful practice. Thank you.
Which is another phrase that you used all the time, moving it through. Moving it through, right?
Moving it through.
Moving it through. Maybe we'll
Yes,
end on
and
that. I love that.
Yes.
Practice to move it through.
That's real stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again. This is just
thank you for joining.
Yes.